Hi guys, Swampfox Mike here, and this video is a comparison between two of our most popular optics, the Arrowhead LPVO and the Trihawk 3X Prism scope. While I'm going to talk about our scopes in particular, I'm also aware that this is a larger question that a lot of shooters are asking in general right now. So, generally speaking, this is a battle between fixed power prism scopes and low power variable optics. Some people have really strong opinions one way or another already, but other people, especially new shooters, are just now realizing that both of these optics fit all the same rifles and are meant to fill the same role. We have two very different approaches, both claiming to be the best do-it-all rifle scope. The first scope I'm going to cover is Arrowhead. Arrowhead is classified as a low power variable optic, or LPVO. On the low end of magnification, you get 1x, no magnification at all. And you can then turn the magnification ring to increase magnification all the way up to 6x, 8x, or even 10x. We make all three. I'll be using 1-10x Arrowhead because, hey, go big or go home. It's going to provide the maximum contrast possible when I compare it to the fixed power prism scope where you're stuck at only one magnification all the time. The LPVO approach is to be as adaptable as possible. When I first got into shooting 20 years ago, this was the conventional wisdom among the shooters in Missouri where I lived. If you were shooting inside 100 yards, you needed a red dot because that's the fastest optic to acquire. If you were deer hunting, you needed a 3-9 scope with a simple crosshair reticle so you could zoom in a little bit and make a more humane shot on that deer. And if you wanted to do precision shooting past 200 yards, you needed something like a fixed 10 power scope with a mil-dot reticle so you could use the reticle for ranging and holdovers. Fast forward to 2020, and the concept of a LPVO like Arrowhead is to do all the jobs that those three separate scopes used to do. One scope to cover all those scenarios and offer all that capability. But y'all know this video isn't going to end here. Of course, there's more to the story than that. Now, you can shoot an LPVO at 1x with both eyes open like a red dot for very good speed up close. Everyone advertises this, but it's not the whole story either. The truth is, a LPVO is not as fast as a red dot, nor even as fast as a 1x prism scope like our blade because the eyebox isn't that large. The eye what? Eyebox is the allowable lateral distance that your eye can move away from the center line of the scope and still get a usable sight picture. A big forgiving eyebox is an absolute necessity. It's absolutely critical if your scope's sight picture is going to be fast to acquire. Now the cool thing about red dots is they don't have an eyebox at all. As I showed in my last video shooting a parallax test with a Sentinel pistol dot, essentially, if you can see the dot anywhere in the window, you can put the dot on the target and you can get a hit. And this means the position of your head versus the rifle can be very inconsistent, but you can still fire well-aimed shots. With a variable magnification optic like Arrowhead, there's a much tighter limit to how far your eye can move away from the optic's center line before you lose that sight picture entirely. There's a shaft of light coming out the rear of the optic, and your eye needs to be somewhere inside that shaft of light in order to see through the scope. Kind of looks like this. Okay, so when your eye reaches the edge of this cone-shaped shaft of light, you'll start to see a shadow. When your eye moves outside the shaft of light, then it's almost like a black curtain has been drawn over the optic and you can't see through it at all. It's not really in the shape of a box, but I guess the word eyebox is easier to say than eye cone or eye cylinder. A big forgiving eyebox is obviously much superior to a small, picky, hard-to-look-through eyebox. So what kind of eyebox does Arrowhead 1-10x have? Well, both. In every variable magnification scope, eyebox will be best at low magnification and worst at high magnification. This doesn't matter if it's a 1-4x or a 5-30x, and it doesn't matter if you're shooting a $500 optic or a $3,000 optic. This is because of the physics of how light works, and with current scope technology, there's simply no way around it. I'm going to skip talking to you about what exit pupil is and all the math involved. I'm just going to talk about the real-world use of these scopes. At 1x, I get a very big eyebox that's very fast to acquire, very forgiving for snap shooting up close with both eyes open. At 3 power or 4 power, the eyebox is still very good, but noticeably smaller. At 10 power, the eyebox has gotten much smaller, plus all that magnification shrinks down your field of view. So that's actually a double hit to my sight acquisition and shooting speed. And it looks kind of like this. This is 1x, that's 10x. Practically, if I'm at 10 power magnification, I really want to be shooting from a well-supported position. That means I'm in the prone or I'm at a bench, and I probably have something helping me to steady the rifle, like a bipod or a tripod, my rucksack, something like that. The eyebox is still good enough with Arrowhead that at 10x I can shoot my rifle standing up that way, just to show off or challenge myself. but it's not ideal at all. So is this a huge disadvantage of the LPVO concept or of our Arrowhead scope in particular? Not at all. Let's look at the flip side of the coin for a second. I've talked about what 1x is for, speed up close, right? Well, what's 10x for? Accuracy. Whether I'm trying to shoot for the tightest group size at 100 yards or I'm trying to reach out to 300, 400, 500 yards, I can't do that super fast and standing up anyway. I need to be supported, and I need to take more time to make the most accurate shots possible. So the disadvantage of the smaller eye box doesn't really matter that much in an accuracy situation. If I'm going to be shooting slower anyway, then hey, it's a big luxury to be able to crank up the magnification and see my target as if it were 10 times closer to me than it really is. And that's the biggest plus of the Arrowhead LPVO. You can tailor your scope's magnification to your situation at hand. With the throw lever, it's super easy to change magnification very quickly as your situation changes. I'm shooting up close, I need 1x. Now I need to shoot at 500 yards with precision, no problem. Bam, I just crank up the magnification to 10x. And that's something that the Trihawk 3x Prism scope cannot do. Guys, I want to talk real quick about the shirt I'm wearing today. We call this the Military Man, and when you buy this shirt, we donate $5 to Mission 22. It's a charity that's dedicated to reducing suicide among Americans veterans. It's a great charity. They're fighting hard for a very worthy cause. I'm going to put a link in the description below to our video about Mission 22, so please go check that out when this video is over. So if LPVOs are super flexible and the Trihawk 3x Prism is just stuck at 1 magnification, why even compare? It's going to be an obvious slam dunk for Team Arrowhead, right? Well, not so fast. The Trihawk is still a great do-it-all scope because of its state-of-the-art 10-degree field of view. My situational awareness when I look through this little scope is excellent, whether I'm at 10 yards or at 300 yards. The 10-degree FOV means 52.4 feet field of view at 100 yards. So if you're looking through the scope at me and I'm 100 yards away, I could lay a tape measure down and you could see 52 feet of tape measure going from side to side before I disappeared from your field of view. Compared to almost any other 3x optic out there, that's a huge advantage. If I set my Arrowhead to 3x, I only see 38.7 feet from side to side. So with Trihawk, sure, I'm not able to switch magnifications, but at 3x magnification, I see about 25% more target area than I do when I'm using Arrowhead set to 3x. Here's what I'm talking about. So this is Arrowhead at 3x magnification looking at a steel torso target 300 yards away, 3 football fields away. Not bad. Arrowhead has a pretty good field of view compared to older optical design LPVOs. But let's compare it with Trihawk, also at 3x magnification. Wow, that is what a 10-degree field of view does for you. If you're going to be stuck at 1 magnification, you might as well have the most situational awareness possible at that magnification. The Eyebox on Trihawk is also very fast and easy to acquire. So if the LPVO Arrowhead is a scope that's pretty good at multiple magnifications, think of the Trihawk as a totally optimized, no compromise for the 1 magnification that it does. But once again, if we're comparing these two scopes side by side at 300 yards, the Trihawk cannot do this. That's Arrowhead at 300 yards at 10x magnification. Now in real life, the image clarity is much better. Remember, I'm doing these pictures by holding up my iPhone behind my scope. Hey, if you enjoy our videos, why don't you hit those like and subscribe buttons now? You can even suggest a video in the comments section too if there's a topic that you'd like to see us talk about. So what can you do with just 3x magnification in Trihawk? Well, quite a lot. I personally find Trihawk to be surprisingly fast in the same close quarter situations where I would set the Arrowhead at 1x magnification. And I already have a video up here on YouTube showing off that I can successfully use Trihawk to hit this same 300-yard steel torso target standing up. Practically, I feel very comfortable with it in a variety of distances and shooting situations, even if it isn't ultimately quite as fast as the Arrowhead at 1 power or quite as accurate as the Arrowhead at 10 power. And it has some other advantages as well. Size, weight, and cost. Arrowhead is a fantastic value for the money, but you don't just buy the scope, you have to buy a mount too. And the mount costs extra, and it also adds extra weight. We recently came out with a super strong, super beefy one-piece scope mount called Hostile Engagement Mount, which is made out of thick 7075 aluminum, it's hard-coated, has RMR footprint backup red dot mounts built right into the top caps. Now it won't break on you, but it's heavy. Combined with the Arrowhead inside it, we're looking at adding almost 2 pounds to the total weight of the rifle. My particular M4 here weighs in at 7 pounds empty before we put the Arrowhead on top of it. So adding Arrowhead in this mount to my basic M4 style AR increases the weight of my whole system by 23% versus the weight of just the gun with iron sights on it. Obviously, now in my opinion, the Arrowhead's totally worth it, but that is a significant weight penalty too. On the other hand, Trihawk weighs about 5 ounces less than the Arrowhead scope does by itself, even though the mount is built into Trihawk and it houses a larger battery for better reticle illumination battery life. Adding a total of 15.4 ounces to my 7-pound AR is a total weight increase of 14% versus the iron sight weight. To put it in the most simple terms possible, Arrowhead plus hostile engagement mount is almost double the weight of Trihawk. And what about cost? You guys know we have some coupon codes flying around and we often run sales, but I'm going to compare MSRP versus MSRP here. Arrowhead 1-10x is about $550 and the HE mount is $150. So at MSRP, you're looking at a total of $700 to put this combo on your gun. Now, if you go with our Independence mount, you only spend $60 on that mount. It's a great mount that'll definitely get the job done. At that point, you're looking at just over $600 to put Arrowhead on your rifle. But Trihawk is just $329 at MSRP, and you don't have to buy any mount separately at all. You buy Trihawk, you install a battery, you throw it on your rifle, and you're done. Go sight it in. At $330 versus $600 or $700, it's pretty obvious that the Trihawk Prism scope is going to do a great job, and it's going to hurt your wallet about half as much overall. So if this costs half as much as this, what's the performance difference like in the real world? I think at ranges from 100 to 300 yards or so, the Trihawk 3X maybe has a slight advantage based on that 10-degree field of view. And after 300 yards, the fact that you can crank Arrowhead up to 10x gives it the advantage. So if you're shooting past 300 yards regularly, the Arrowhead is going to be totally worth it for you. If you're not going past 300 yards, the Trihawk should be more than enough scope for you. For me, the bigger question is close quarters performance. How much advantage does Arrowhead's true 1x give it versus the Trihawk's fixed 3 power? So I went shooting. I put 5 paper plate targets spaced out pretty randomly on 2 target backers 5 yards away at a part of my local range that has a giant tall berm where you can hit the berm even if you lay on your side. I did 3 runs, 2 standing up and 1 on my side, trying to maximize the challenge. This is a set of drills where Arrowhead should be right at home and Trihawk is definitely at a massive disadvantage. Here's how I did with the Arrowhead. $359. $311. Time 7:98. And here's how I did with the Trihawk, doing the exact same drills. $479. $479. $381. $381. Time 8:15. 8:15. I started out with my first run 25% slower with Trihawk than with Arrowhead. That's a huge difference, and it's pretty obvious in the video. Watch close and you can see my muzzle kind of wiggle around as I hunt for the next target. On my second run, I was still 19% slower with Trihawk versus with Arrowhead, but by the time I did my third run on my side, I was only 0.17 seconds slower with Trihawk. That's only 3% slower. 5 targets at 5 yards, lying on my side, and looking through a fixed 3x scope, and I was still 97% as good with Trihawk as I was with Arrowhead. So I think there's a case to be made that you can get used to the fixed 3x scope, even at very close range, and close the performance gap with some repetitions and training. Now here's a final thought as I wrap this video up. If you like the 3x Trihawk for general purpose shooting, but you're worried that it's going to slow you down too much in close quarters, you can do this. Dual optics. Mount one of our red dot sights on a 45-degree offset mount. Now you have a both eyes open 1x sighting system available just by rotating the rifle over 45 degrees. Adding this Kingslayer and the 45-degree offset mount in front of my Trihawk is still both less expensive and less heavy than putting Arrowhead on the same gun. Now, that's a setup worth thinking about in my opinion. I'm Swampfox Mike, and I'll see you again soon.